Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Afterthought, where we talk all things mental health and real life. My name is Roxanne Francis, and I am the owner and operator of Francis Psychotherapy right here in the GTA in Ontario, Canada. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming through. Yes, I am wearing a filter on my life tonight because I'm tired as hell. And I didn't want to inflict that on the rest of you, so I'm trying to glam it up a little bit. How are you guys doing? How are you managing this Wednesday evening? How was your fall day? How are you handling the fall? I do not handle fall very well because it's a reminder that winter is on its way and I do not like the cold. I am a girl of summer temperatures and no jackets and playing at the beach and just being carefree. And winter just feels very restrictive. Jackets and scarves and hats and gloves and boots. And, the fashion is cool, I'm not gonna lie, but I can't handle the temperatures. But I'm here, so I will handle it. Jody says social isolation is taking a toll. I hear you. Jade says, also tired as hell. Hello, VFB. Thank you for coming through. Well, I won't keep you guys in suspense. Hey, Alex, Lexi. Tonight we're talking about raising challenging children. Do you have children? Do you have children that are challenging? Well, you have come to the right place because here at Afterthought, just turning down my music here. Here at Afterthought, we talk about mirroring or matching all the mental health, clinical, psych stuff with how you live your real life. Because a lot of people believe that when you talk about mental health, it is separate and apart. It's doctor's office, it's hospital, it's medication, and it is not related. But it is very much related to how you live your everyday life. And, so many people come to me because, they are having trouble with parenting. And Jody, I cut my teeth in children's mental health. And, feel free to chime in because you have expertise in this area in your own right. But parenting is challenging. It teaches you about yourself. It teaches you your limits. It tells you what you have patience for and what you don't. If you have always considered yourself a very patient person, just have a child or two and you'll be so challenged on that, right? Hello, Healing Spaces. Thank you for joining me tonight. So talk to me about what your biggest challenge is with raising your children. Put it in the little, there should be a little question box. Put it in the little question box and it'll come up for all of us to see. Let me know what your biggest challenge is. And if you have a parenting question, I'll see if I can, help you out a little bit. But one of the things that I talk to parents about when they come to me with parenting challenges is I ask them, is the parenting consistent? Children can smell the inconsistency from a mile away. Tonight you say bedtime is at 7 o'clock, then tomorrow bedtime is at 9:30. Kids, they smell that. They know that you're not hey Shanika, they know that you are not up to snuff. Jody says professional and personal experience. Yes, you have your professional and personal experience. Hey Nicole, you are a general in the army of parenting, so feel free to jump in on our parenting discussion as well. Quite often parents will come in and they'll say to me, my child is disrespectful, talking back, very angry, they have trouble containing their anger, or, they're throwing things across the room, or they're physical, they're hurting their siblings, and I don't know what to do with that. The school is calling me all the time. My child is, and the word they use, well, I shouldn't say the word they use. The word I hear is room wrecker or a room trasher. It's the child in the class that is starting to become violent and they have to evacuate the rest of the children from the classroom and take them to the library or take them outside or take them to the gym while the child and youth worker and the teacher try to manage the behavior of the child. And if that child who is exhibiting that behavior is your child, you're going to be called to the office. Come pick up your kid very quickly. And what do you do if you work a 9 to 5, or you have to be at a desk job, or you work on a construction site, or whatever that looks like, and you have to leave your job to come and pick up your child? And if you're available to pick up your child and your child starts acting out, then they're calling you every day, which then puts your job in jeopardy. I had one parent who said to me, I told the school, stop calling me. Don't call me anymore. You deal with it. I'm going to lose my job, right? And then I won't be able to provide for said child. I have a very sensitive child in my home. I have 2 children, and one is as cool as a cucumber and just goes with the flow, and the other one is very, very sensitive. He has very big emotions, and I love him for it, but sometimes it's challenging, right? He goes from I'm doing fine to you told me no about something and I'm upset, and I have to manage that. I mean, we've learned each other, and that's the other thing too. You and your child are learning each other. However many years your child has on them right now, if you have a 7-year-old, you've never had, unless you have, if you have a 7-year-old, you've never had a 7-year-old with that personality before ever. Even if you have another child who's older, who has gone through that 7-year-old stage, it's a different personality. So each child at each stage is brand new to you, and you are learning each other. So give yourself a little bit of grace. VFB said, just had a baby. 3.5-year-old is great with baby, but is screaming, defiant, angry, challenging kid. He was like this before, but now it's really ramped up and I have less patience and time now. Help. Yes. Often it can be challenging when you bring a new child into the home and the older child is like, what is happening? I was your baby. That lap used to be mine. All those cuddles used to be mine. And now you're caught up with this new kid. Well, I'm going to give you something to pay attention to. And they start wrecking everything. They're kicking and they're screaming and they're angry. And, some of the things I talk to parents about are seeing if the older child would be willing to help you with helping to care for the child. Hey, Deb. Another thing that we talk about is carving out time just for you and the older child, so the toddler. Do you have a partner in the home who can take baby so you can have some book time or cuddle time or bubble bath time with your toddler? Help them to know that you have not just cast them aside, because a lot of the times they're like, I used to be the one that you used to love, and now you only love the baby and you don't have time for me. As much as you're still doing the things, what has happened is they used to be your whole world, and now that world is cut in half, or maybe even 3/4, where they're getting a quarter because the baby's needs are more pronounced, and so the baby is getting 3/4 of that attention, and now it seems to them that they're only getting a quarter. So they're getting angry. They're upset. I would say, I give the child some words, because they may not know how to say I'm angry or I'm lonely or I'm disappointed. So give them words when they have calmed down, when they've calmed down from the kicking and the screaming. Sit with them and give them words. Do you feel disappointed that mommy's spending more time with the baby? Are you angry that mommy couldn't read with you? I totally get it. How about I read with you at this time? Set a timer and say, I'm going to be with the baby for this time, and then I'm going to come to you. Okay. Here are some things that you can do in the meantime while I X. And I know that life isn't as cookie cutter as that, but those are just some cues and some tips that you can probably try. I remember when my younger son was a wee baby, and my older boy was just getting out of his toddler phase, and I was just like, I can't do this. My husband was at work, and I'm like, I can't do this. And my colleague who's on here, Chiquita02, she came to my house and she's like, look, you can't do the dishes and mop the floor and read to this one, and you can't do it all, because I wanted to put baby down and give the older boy all of my attention. And she's like, Roxanne, you, Jody, I still remember this. Hey, Sherilyn. She said, Roxanne, if it means that you have to have one baby on your chest while you're reading to the other, you can do that, right? Help them to realize that it doesn't have to be all cut up and split up. And so I really had to give myself grace. I had to say, okay, you know what? You have two children and you're trying to make it work. You can't be in two places at once. And they're going to have to share mommy. So show them how it's done. And so I was able to do that. I was able to read with my older boy while the other one was on my chest. Or, while I was rocking the baby, I had the older one at my feet playing Lego. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do to make the parenting game work. VFB says, the mom guilt is real. We have been working on feeling words. I need to make more time for him. And great point. Listen, the mom guilt will suck you in. It will chew you up and spit you out. So I want you to remind yourself that you are doing the best job that you can. You have never done this before. You've never had a 3.5-year-old and a baby at the same time before, right? I was talking to a client the other day who was feeling really overwhelmed with her parenting role, and she's on maternity leave from a really good professional job. And I said, how long did you study for that? And she said, I don't know, maybe like 6 years. And I said, oh, okay. How long did you study for being a wife and a mother of these little children? And she's like, yeah. And I said, yeah, we are all learning this on the fly. And if you make a mistake at work, your boss might say, okay, you know what, that's okay. Here's what you need to do next time, or whatever, if you have an understanding boss. You're at home and your kids will always love you, even if you make a mistake. You need to be able to love yourself even if you make a mistake, right? I can't stop the guilt feelings from coming, but I want you to know that you are doing the best that you can. And listen, honey, you are keeping those babies alive. If your 3.5-year-old can laugh at some point throughout the day, you're doing a good job. I see you giving him those feeling words. I love that you're doing that. Maybe you can't make all the time for him every single day, but carve out a little bit when you can, right? They say sleep when the baby is sleeping. Yeah, that's great. But you have an older child that you also need to make time for. So make that time when you can, right? And ease up on yourself a little bit. You're doing really good. You brought 2 children into this world. You're feeding them. You're putting them to bed. You're keeping them clean. I say kudos to you. Let's see if we can throw up some hearts for VFB, because she's doing a really great job. You have my support. So another thing that I would like to say for parents who have challenging children, ask yourself, was your child always challenging, right? Or did something shift? Did you notice, oh, look at all the hearts, I love it. Did you notice that something, did this start over the past 6 weeks? Did this challenging behavior start over the past 6 months? Part of my work is sort of being an investigator with parents. So when did this start? Was your child always this way? My older child came out of the womb as a sensitive child. He's always been that way. But for some children, the parent can say, well, this started when their sibling was born. Or this started right after the accident. Oh, this started when after we spun out on the highway. Right? So if there are significant things in the lifespan of your family, think about what's been going on that may have triggered this difficult behavior in your child. Has there been a traumatic incident? Has there been a death in the family? Was there a car accident? Did you move houses? Another personal example is my older boy. We moved houses, and in the process of packing up and, you know, moving to the new home and unpacking, his teacher reached out to me and said, "Oh, he's exhibiting a little bit of physical behavior at school." And I'm like, "Ah, that's right." So I sent her a note and I said, "Home is a little bit upside down right now. We are in the process of moving. And this is what's happening." We sat down and we talked to him, but he was still displaying a little bit of difficult behavior at school. Nothing serious, but it was just an uptick in his behavior. And after we settled down at home, the behavior at school settled down as well. So sometimes the behaviors can mirror what's going on or the changes in the family. Also, is there an adult in your child's life who has a mental health issue that is not treated well or is untreated, right? Managing a mental health issue can be really, really difficult. And children don't understand what that's all about. And so erratic behavior, being very loud and belligerent, having a parent who's unavailable, those things can impact the child's behavior. And you can start seeing a child that will talk back, that is physical, that doesn't listen, and the behavior can be really, really challenging. Let's see. The other things to keep in mind are the age and stage of your child. Are they between 2 and 3.5? That's when they are testing their defiance. That's when they are exhibiting this, "I don't have to listen to you" type thing. "Come here." No, right? That's when they're throwing those things out. And so your child, the one thing I will say is that your child did not wake up to terrorize you. Your child did not wake up to drive you bananas, give you a bad day. They're not trying to manipulate you. Children who are around the age of 9, they do not have the cognitive maturity to wake up and go, "Okay, this morning I'm going to tell her no for every single thing. This morning I'm not going to listen to my dad. This morning I'm going to give them a run for their money. They're not going to like that they sent me to bed early last night." Children don't have the forethought for that. So just know that their behavior is their language, right? If their behavior is difficult all of a sudden, if they are loud and screaming and they won't hug you and, they are trying to explain to you that something is off. If your child suddenly started regressing and wetting their bed again after they have been dry all night for a year, something is going on, and it's worth having a discussion with your child. It's worth sitting down and going, "Okay, what has been changing in my child's life?" Because the behavior is language. It is their language. It is their way of saying something isn't right. Okay, let's see. This pandemic that we're living in, right? It is impacting our children, and we have to talk to them about what's going on for them. We have to sit with them and see how they're feeling, give them the feeling words, help them to know that they're not alone, help them to realize that you are also having a difficult time. I've spoken about this pandemic over and over because, it's what we're living in, but, just their behavior, how a lot of parents have come to me and I have said, my child's behavior has spiked, their anxiety has spiked, they're more withdrawn, they won't talk to me anymore, or they're more physical with their siblings. And when we talk it all through, they are able to say, I think this really started after March break. And then they're like, "Oh, it's this pandemic." Or parents have said to me, "Since I've sent my child back to school, the behaviors have come down," right? Children need each other. They need to play. They need their social world. This is how they practice relationships. This is how they practice negotiation. This is how they practice conflict resolution. This is how they learn to speak up for themselves. It is that social world. And this pandemic has taken that away from them. So, I can't speak to the decisions that parents make around whether or not their children go to school or stay home, because you know your child best, and you know why you made the decision that you made. And whatever decision that you make, I wholeheartedly agree, whatever it was that you decided for your own family. But for children who are back to school, it is giving them the opportunity to become reacquainted with conflict resolution, with the difference between tattling and reporting, the difference between a dare or making a decision on my own, of my own volition, right? They're practicing these life skills in the midst of their peers at school, and the pandemic took that away and has taken that away from them, and that can be challenging. Let's see what else did I want to say? Okay. I want to let you know that it is absolutely normal for your child to challenge you, right? They may not have woken up with the thought that I'm going to challenge my parent today, but it is normal for them to challenge you. There is a physician, a psychologist in the States. Her name is Dr. Anne Louise Lockhart. She's here on Instagram as well. She said something the other day that really made me think. She talked about when you are at a theme park, right? And you ride the roller coaster. When you sit down and they put those restraints over your torso and they lock it in, they say, when they put it down, they tell you to push against it. When you push against it, you hear that click. And that's how you know you're in securely. Well, children, they push against us. And our rules and our restrictions and our regulations, these are the things, our consistency. These are the things that help our children feel secure in life. If they do not have rules, if they do not have, I don't want to say barriers, but not barriers. Boundaries? That's what I'm looking for. If they do not have boundaries, if they do not have regulations, if they don't know, if they have to set their own bedtime, if they have to decide what they're going to eat for dinner every single day, they do not feel safe and secure. And as much as they cry about bedtime, as much as they cry about eating the broccoli as opposed to eating pizza every single night, they need those boundaries. They need the rules and the regulations. However, they will push against them to see if these are really in place for sure. And our job is to say, yes, they are in place for sure. So when they push against it, they need to feel our resistance and hear that click of security. Do you know what I mean? So do not pull back every time your kid says, well, I don't want to go to bed at 7:30, right? Or I don't want to turn off my tablet. Do not pull back. You need to hold those pieces in place. You need to stand your ground and be the parent that they need you to be. Otherwise, they will not know if they're coming or going, and they will be set up for failure in this life for when they get older. So keep your rules in place. Keep your restrictions in place. Do what it is that you need to do as a parent and actually parent your children. They need it. They need you to be firm with them. They need you to be consistent with them. They need that sense of the parent is in charge. So don't get discouraged when they cry about the rules. Don't get discouraged when they pout because they can't keep their lights on throughout the night so that they can read till midnight when they have school the next morning. Don't get discouraged by that. It isn't fun. I'm not gonna lie. As a person who has children, it isn't fun to hear your children cry. It isn't fun to hold the boundaries in place, but it is necessary. Let's see, what else? Let's think about our own tolerance for their shenanigans. It's challenging enough to raise children, but then when you don't get any sleep, VFB, I'm thinking about you when you have the baby and you're up a few times a night to feed and change diapers and all those things. And then your 3.5-year-old gives you trouble the next day when you are like in zombie mode. You can barely keep your eyes open. When you are not rested, it is more challenging. When you are hungry, it is more challenging. When you have no support, it is more challenging. So think about your tolerance for your children and their foolishness. Think about your tolerance for their shenanigans. And, check yourself. When you find yourself screaming at them, you need to go, oh, I'm tired. This is what is happening. And adjust accordingly, right? Also keep in mind your children's own tolerance. If they are not sleeping, they're likely to be more fussy. If you have young children, you know what they're like when they don't sleep. If they are hungry, you know what they're like when they're hungry. I think for small children, the acronym is HALT: hungry, anxious, lonely, or tired. Children lose their minds when they are in those spaces. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I've been talking about little kids for the longest time. Some of you in here have adolescents and teenagers. You know that you cannot treat them like 7-year-olds. I hope you know that when your children are small, the role that you play is more of a dictatorship, right? Or you're a totalitarian. You lay down the law, you give the rules, it's because I said so, right? And they do what you ask them to do. They brush your teeth at a certain time, they go to bed at a certain time, they do their homework because you ask them to, and that's just how it is. As children get older, as they go upwards into their teen years, it becomes less of a dictatorship and a little bit more of a democracy. They get, and I hope you do offer this, but they get a little bit of say around how the rules get played out. So, why do I have to come in at 8 o'clock? Then you can start to explain. Well, here's the deal. This is why. And they can counter, and you can say, it's okay to say, okay, fine. You have till 8:30, but that's it, right? You can give and take a little bit the older that they get, right? There's more room for discussion. There is more room for, you didn't have fruit this morning, so you're going to have broccoli with your supper, or whatever that looks like for you in your family. But I encourage you, as your children get older, to make more room for discussion, to make more room for them to participate in the making of the rules. And then you hold them to that, right? Give them more space to discuss with you consequences, what consequences should be like, right? And Jody and I were having a discussion recently about enabling. You have to think about, if you are pulling back on certain rules, are you enabling your child in a certain way? And she came up with a really great definition. She said, if you are, Jody, if you're still on here, help me. You are helping your child if you are doing something that they are unable to do. But you are enabling your child if you are doing something for them that they're able to do on their own. So I encourage you, if you have children who are in adolescence and approaching their teenage years or in their teenage years, do not enable them. Help them when they need it. But remember, we're not raising children. You are raising young adults to go out into this world. And so you don't want to send your child off to university who is unable to boil water. You don't want to send your child off into this world who is unable to figure out a budget, right? Doesn't know anything about a bank account. They may not need you to be the director of their lives anymore because they're no longer 6 and 7 years old, but they do need an advisor. As children get older, they need less and less of a, well, shouldn't say they need less of a parent. Your parenting role changes. And they need, Nicole, you can speak to this, Charlene, you can speak to this if you're on here still. But they require more of an advisor. And so you could give them the advice and they could choose not to take it, but then the consequences are their own, right? So I wanted to just talk a little bit about what that looks like for people who have older children. I'm not sure if this has been helpful for you. If this is helpful for you, let me know or throw up some hearts. Parenting is hard. It's hard work. And just when you feel like you have gone through a particular stage with them and you're like, yeah, I got this. Then they have a birthday and they're no longer 12. Suddenly they're 15 and they're outside of that. They're no longer in that stage. They're in another stage and it feels like you're constantly playing catch up. Yes, you are. For those of you on here who have teenagers or kids in their early 20s, listen, I am going to be calling you in a few short years because my children are growing faster than I can keep up with them. But I guess I have the advantage of knowing some of this work and doing some of this work and having some of you as really great friends. I hope you don't mind if I come crying on your shoulder in 5 years. Be patient with yourself. Parenting is a journey. I think it's a teaching tool for us. It teaches us about ourselves. It teaches us about our tolerance. It teaches us about our patience. It teaches us about what we are willing and not willing to do in order to go to jail. Because sometimes it's all we can do to rein it in. But I encourage you. I know that all of you on here are doing very, very good jobs. I'm thinking of hosting actually a parent webinar. If that's something that you're interested in, just send me a DM and maybe send me your email address and I will keep you in the loop for when that is happening, because there's a lot more that I would like to talk about regarding parenting, but I would love to do it in a more interactive format, and this isn't giving me the time and space that I need to do that. It is already 8:34 and I feel like I already should let you guys go. It's past 8 o'clock. Sorry, it's past 8:30. You guys have been amazing as usual. I hope this has been helpful. Parenting will drive you bananas. And if you feel like you are not doing a good job, it impacts how you feel about yourself. It impacts how you feel among other parents who seem like they all have it together. The one last thing I will say before I let you guys go, this idea that all the other parents have it together, that's foolishness, right? It is all a facade. None of us know what we're doing. Right? I might do this for work, but my kids constantly throw me curveballs and I feel like I'm always catching up. Those people out there who look like they have it all together, you do not know what happens behind closed doors. You do not know which one of the parents are drinking because they feel like they can't hack it. You do not know which one of the parents are struggling with anxiety and depression. You do not know who's well-behaved children or children who look like they're well-behaved. You don't know if they're destroying the school, they're destroying the classroom at school. So hang in there. Continue doing good jobs and parent those children like your life depends on it, because it does. You guys take care. Do not forget to join me next Wednesday at Afterthought. We're going to be getting into a really, really special episode of Afterthought, and I think it will be an hour long, but I will fill you in a little bit more on that as the days of the week go by. You guys take care. Take care of your mind. You only have one. Thanks for joining me. Have a great night. Cheers.